All right, I've asked a friend to come up and read something from We Agnostics.
What's going on, guys? My name's Rich. I'm an alcoholic. Step 2, We Agnostics, page 50 and 51. Here are thousands of men and women, worldly indeed. They flatly declare that since they have come to believe in a power greater than themselves, to take a certain attitude toward that power, and to do certain simple things, there's been a revolutionary change in their way of living and thinking. In the face of collapse and despair, in the face of the total failure of their human resources, they found that a new power, peace, happiness, and a sense of direction flowed into them. This happened soon after they wholeheartedly met a few simple requirements. Once confused and baffled by the seeming futility of existence, they show the underlying reasons why they were making heavy going of life. Leaving aside the drink question, they tell why living was so unsatisfactory. They show how the change came over them. When many hundreds of people are able to say that the consciousness of the presence of God is today the most important fact of their lives, they present a powerful reason why one should have faith. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. All right, and our speaker on step 2 will be Jackie P. from Media, Pennsylvania.
Hi, I'm Jackie. I'm an alcoholic. I'm such an alcoholic. I'm like so scared to be standing up here. Like so much so that I've like told like 18 people before I came up here. And it's so crazy, like the mental gymnastics I put myself through leading up to this point. And it's crazy because like months ago when Teddy initially asked me to come speak here, I said it would be an honor. And it doesn't like, and Chelsea like reminded me of that when she was speaking, that it is an honor to be here, but then my alcoholism gets in the way and I separate myself from everybody. And like the ego is such a perverse thing. It either tells me like I'm the shit or I'm a piece of shit, you know? And it's like, there's no middle ground, you know? And usually I'm a piece of shit. Like I should not be up here. And like recently I feel like I believe in God. I know it's there. My experience proves that it's there. But there's this big side of me that like implies that I still have power in some way, you know, 8 years into this gig. And like I believe and know in my heart that lack of power is my dilemma. But I still think I have some power. So I like to open up with how I honestly feel because it's like the most honest thing I'm going to tell you guys is that I am nervous to be standing up here. I don't know if I'm going to sound good, and I want to. And I want to be liked. And also, like, I love Alcoholics Anonymous so much. Like, I want to be somebody that's helpful. I want people, what did Mary Beth, me and her were talking, and she was like, I want to part the seas. Like, I want you guys all drop your sponsors and come ask me to be your sponsor. Like, that's like how I operate. But like, I think what helps me the most is like really getting quiet and realizing like I have nothing to do with any of this. You know, all I can do is show up and try and be honest. And maybe I sound good, maybe I don't. Maybe somebody's helped by something I say, maybe not. You know, maybe I'm being used as a bad example of AA. Like that happens sometimes. Like this is what you shouldn't do. And I don't know, that whole opening is actually a really good synopsis for how I got here. I don't know, I liked what Chelsea said too. I reflected a lot on what I was going to say. But I just know, like, ever since, does anybody in here, like, really, like, believe in, like, the idea that I was an alcoholic way before I picked up a drink? I do. You know, I identify with that. But I know that some people don't. Like, some people really were, like, entirely normal, except with the effect that alcohol had upon them. Not me. I was not normal. Ever since I was a little girl, like, I just remember being really, really afraid. Like, crippled with fear, you know? And this is sort of how it looks in my life, and it still happens today, is, like, I could be talking to Katie, and Katie could be telling me all about her kids and her life and her job and what's going on at like work and all this stuff, but I'd be in my head thinking, like, am I saying the right thing? Do I sound funny enough? Am I smart enough to be having this conversation? Like, do I look pretty? Is there something wrong with my hair? Like, I'm just thinking about me, and also like simultaneously somehow rehearsing what I'm going to say. And I'm so like riddled with fear that when it comes my turn to respond, I don't know what to say because I wasn't listening, you know? Like, so I just say, that's crazy. And like seriously, talk to me, and you'll like, my friend Eric says that to me. He's like, wait, Jackie, did you just that's crazy me? Like, and like, yeah, I did it again. And it's just it's second nature. I can't explain it, but like, I don't know, like, that's always been there. And I just remember like looking around at the world, wondering how other people are doing this. You know, like, it was really scary for me to walk up to people and say things as simple as hello. Like, it was just terrifying. And I just felt like I wasn't a part of, like, everybody was a part of this big inside joke and nobody was telling me what the punchline was. Like, I just immediately separate myself from all of you. And, you know, like I remember like driving with my parents to school, and I'd look out the window and I would see people running, like jogging, like exercising. And I'd think to myself, like, how are you doing this? Like, that's so crazy to me that you can like wake up, ground yourself, and carry on throughout your day. Like, even today still, like, a lot, like, I'm so undisciplined. So, like, a lot of times upon awakening, I check my bank account just in case somebody took all my money while I was sleeping. Like, that's what my head does. Like, it still blows my mind that some people don't have to aggressively try to center themselves. Like, they can just run in the morning. And like, throughout that time, like, my dad, he would say the most terrifying things to me, and he didn't really mean to scare me so much, but he would say things to me like, you know, Jackie, these school years are the best years of your life, you know? And like, that was so scary because it didn't feel good. Like, it didn't. And by the age of 11, I discovered a power greater than myself that I felt could restore me to sanity. And that was alcohol. And I don't know, I drank alcohol enough to feel drunk, and it was a complete spiritual experience. Like, it was, you know, in the appendix in the big book, like, it defines a spiritual experience. And Chelsea talked about this a lot, probably without even knowing it. Like, a spiritual experience, by definition, is just a profound change in perception. That's it. And I had that. I felt drunk, and I had that. And, like, it didn't feel terrifying to walk up to people and say things as simple as hello. And like, people could make fun of me and I could make fun of them. Like, it would roll off my back in a way it never has before. And like, I could listen to Katie. You know, Katie could be telling me about her life, and like, I'm present and participating in the conversation, and I'm not thinking about myself. Like, I don't care if I'm wearing the right thing or saying the right thing. I feel like, you know, I don't care if you're my friend or not. I feel like you already are, you know? And like, that felt really, really good. So I did that as often as a kid can. And, you know, it progressed really rapidly. Like, it worked really, really well for just a little bit. It's so interesting. Some people get to experience how good it feels for a lot longer than I did. But I think by the age of like 15 was when, like, I don't know, like, I started reaching for other resources, you know, like, alcohol worked. And then, like, I needed it, and it wasn't giving me what it used to give me, so I needed something else to fill that void inside of me, because I'm just so not okay. And all I think that's all any of us wanted, was to be okay. You know, like, that was it. Like, we're not bad people. We just wanted to be okay. And, yeah, by the age of 15 was when I started ending up in front of, like, therapists and psychiatrists and winding up in psych wards, because at that time my mom had passed away as a direct result of her alcoholism. And my dad at the time, it's a crazy story, my dad at the time was 30 years older than my mom, which made him so many years older than me. He was 80 years old, you know. He had 3 teenage girls and a teenage boy, and I was definitely a full-blown alcoholic. And my dad was like the best man on earth. He just had like spiritual principles ingrained in his soul. Like, he went to work without anybody telling him to, you know, like, he, yeah, Like he told the truth, and he knew the value of a nickel, like he was the best man on earth. And he could see that things weren't right with me. He could see that I wasn't okay, and he really wanted to help me. And he didn't know how to do that, so he solicited like outside help. So he took me to like therapists and psychiatrists, and what would happen is like I would go in front of these therapists and psychiatrists, and I would tell them exactly how I felt without telling them that I was drinking alcoholically, and like what that looked like was like I would explain to them like I have trouble saying things like hello to people, I'm really scared all of the time. I'm really uncomfortable all of the time. I'm thinking about the future so often, and I'm afraid of tomorrow, or I'm regretting the past, so much so that like I get so exhausted that I sleep for days and days, or I'm just thinking about myself so much that I'm up for days and days, and I say that to doctors without any knowledge of like what I'm doing. And what it looks like is I have bipolar disorder, or anxiety or post-traumatic stress disorder, and they would diagnose me with all of these different things, and they would give me medication. And I do think that those diagnoses are very real. Like, and I've worked with women, and I know people that need to take medication in order to achieve a spiritual experience. I'm not one of those people. Like, I desperately need God. I don't need more Seroquel. Like, I have to read this book, but like instead, like I don't know what I suffer from, and I think I'm bipolar, so I'm taking Seroquel, and it's not working. And then I'm going to psychiatric facilities. I'm spending weeks there, and I'm actually having a great time there, and because I get to take medication. And after that, like other human resources sort of fell into place without me reaching for them. They just landed. Is like law enforcement. Like I would end up in jail cells so often, and I just remember this one story where like I was sitting in a jail cell. They were keeping me there until I sobered up. And there was a female cop there, and she was looking at my driver's license, and she says to me, and she's like, "Jackie, you used to be so pretty," which was so mean, but like also kind of true. Like, Adrian's here. Everyone say hi to Adrian. I'm sorry, that's like my worst nightmare, actually. I just felt like a sigh of relief when I saw her smiling face. So this cop, she was trying to use frothy emotional appeal on me. She's trying to scare me into doing the right thing, and maybe by attacking my superficial point of view, which actually isn't a bad method for someone like me, that maybe I would make a different decision. But like, they kept me there until I sobered up, which felt really, really terrible. And then I left the jail cell, and I just ended up doing exactly what I was going to do to begin with. Like I tried so many different things to get okay. I tried alcohol, and I tried therapists, psychiatrists, medication, maintenance medication, not by choice, tried jail. Like I tried boyfriends and new friends and changing my environment. And I remember switching from day school to night school because it's just school that's my problem, or Delaware County is my issue. Like, you guys just suck, and I need to be in the city with all the other free spirits. And I don't know, like, and then I tried having a baby because I thought this is what I need in order to be okay. Like, first of all, if I have this baby, like this guy, he won't be able to leave me like everybody else did. Like, I will have a forever hostage, and I will have the family that I always wanted and never had, and I'll at least be able to stop for 9 months. And like, I just had all of these reasons for having a baby that had nothing to do with loving or nurturing or caring for a child for the rest of its life. Just had everything to do with how it could serve me, which is like how I looked at the world. Like, how is this going to benefit me? So I wind up pregnant with this guy that I don't really know, and I'm saying that I love. And like, he came over one night, and he brought over a pizza and a bottle of whiskey, and then he lived with me from that night forward. Like, I met him. He went home to get his dog, And then he lived with me, and like 2 weeks after that, we're saying I love you, and 2 months after that, I'm pregnant, and this is what I need. And I tried to get it together for a little bit, like, I don't know, my self-reliance as marshaled by the will wasn't really sufficient, because like I'm just sitting there pregnant, like that's the only thing that changed, and I'm watching Netflix, and like my thoughts start racing again, and I'm on the internet, and I'm looking at other people's lives, and I'm comparing myself to them, and I'm separating myself from them, and I'm thinking they're all stupid, or maybe I'm just really stupid, and like my mind just like, it goes, like Pat was talking about it last night, like it just goes 1,000 miles per second in every possible negative direction, and I need to get me off of me. So I like quickly like picked up like cigarettes, and then like before I knew it, I was drinking again, even while I was pregnant, and I knew that wasn't the right thing to do. Like I had a good upbringing, like I was taught what's right and wrong, and I knew you're not supposed to drink while you're pregnant, but I did it anyway because I needed to get out of this feeling. And my whole pregnancy, I was really scared. Like I felt really disconnected from my baby. Like I felt like I wasn't going to be a good mom because I just didn't care, and the day came when my son was born, and I held him in my arms, and something like, it was a spiritual experience. It was a change in perception, like I suddenly cared about someone more than I cared about myself. I loved him so much, like more than my right arm. And I wish that human resource could have stopped me, because I looked at him and I wanted to stop. I really wanted to be better for him. I wanted to be a good mom, and I just couldn't make it there quite, especially too because 4 days after he was born, he started turning blue, and he started like throwing up, and he had diarrhea, and he was going through full-blown withdrawal symptoms from the decisions that I made when I was pregnant. And then I sat next to him in the intensive care nursery for 30 days, and I watched him be really, really sick as a direct result of my actions. And you think that would be enough to make somebody stop, but it wasn't. It wasn't. Like my son, even though he's absolutely perfect and I love him more than anything in the world, like Chelsea was talking about her mom, like I love this boy so much and I don't want to do this, but he's not enough. He's a human resource, and I don't know. So I'm able to take him home. Nothing changes, and I just go back to what I always know how to do, because I got to get okay. And none of these human resources are working. My son didn't work. Nothing else worked. Like me, like I really tried to stop. I tried to just sit down and dry out, and like it just did not work. And, I end up getting myself in a lot of trouble. Like I had my son for about 9 months, but like his dad took him away because I was in no position to be around a baby. Like I was really bad. And then like that felt terrible when I lost my son, because I didn't want that to happen. But instead of stopping then, like I just drink more, because that's all I got. That's like my deck of cards, is like I just drink more. Even when I experience consequences that are so painful as a direct result from my drinking, I drink to cure the pain of those consequences. It's like the man in the Big Book who, like suffering from a headache, hits himself over the head with a hammer trying to cure that ache. That's me. That's me. And so my son gets taken away, and like I just got really, really bad. I was like back to full-blown prostitution. I had like notices on the door, that you can't live here, and the bills were being shut off. Like it just got bad, and I was Narcaned a few times, and I was arrested a few times, and I just remember the last time I was Narcaned, like it was really bad. Like they were timing it kind of dead, like they were defibrillating me. And like the EMTs were so nice to me, and like I didn't want them to save me, like the worst thing for me at that moment in time was for them to save me, because it would have been better at that point in time if I just went away. But I made it out of there. And like throughout this time, my son's father, he would come to the house every day, and he would check on me to make sure I was still breathing, or I don't know what he was doing there. He would mostly just like see if I was okay, and then like scream at me. He'd be like, "Oh, you're alive? Good. F you for doing all of this." Like it was just like always this thing. And one day he came over, and the neighbors were like, "She's not here. She's at the hospital." And he packed up a duffel bag full of my things, and he came to the hospital, and he said, "Jackie, you have to go to rehab." And I said, "Okay." And I didn't necessarily want to be sober. I just wanted my son back and like some other stuff. I wanted my teeth fixed, and I wanted a new apartment and a car and like another boyfriend, because I didn't think I could be sober, you know. I just wanted to not feel this way. And like I suffer from the delusion that something outside of me could make me feel okay in here. And worse than that, I think I know exactly what it is that's going to make me feel okay in here. Like I convince myself, like I just got to get my teeth fixed, and like I will be okay, I swear. So I don't know, I go to treatment for the very first time, and you know, like when you're in rehab, like they sit you down in front of the nurse practitioner or the psychiatrist within like 48, 72 hours. And I'm sitting in front of this doctor, and he was like, Miss Perez, you're only 24 years old. Why are you on a handful of medication? And I was like, oh, that's like for my anxiety. And he's talking about like my antidepressants, my antipsychotics, my sleep stuff, and my anti-anxiety medications. You know, like he's talking about, like I had so much. And he was like, well, you've just been smoking crack for a really, really long time. So do you think like maybe that's why you have anxiety? And like maybe, I guess. So he saw it fit that day, and this actually doesn't happen in a lot of rehab. He saw it fit that day to take me off everything. And then I started taking my first real sober breaths probably since I was an adolescent. Like there were probably days in between 11 and 24 where I was sober, but I don't remember them. Like I think this was my real first sober experience. And God, it felt like I was a walking bruise, like an open nerve. Like it hurt so bad to not have anything inside of me, to not have any cushion between me and real life. Like it was so painful. And like, I think about how I felt in there, and I think about like my very first meeting. It's actually miraculous that I'm standing up here doing this, because one of my very first meetings is in Wallingford, Pennsylvania. I was so new, and like people knew I was new, so they wanted to give me something to do because you guys are so friendly. And they gave me something to read, but it was the long thing to read. They gave me How It Works. And I was just like so raw, and I started reading How It Works, and like I could feel like my legs shaking and my voice was trembling. And like I get up to step 3 and I start thinking like I'm breathing weird, and everybody can hear me breathing weird. And like my eyes just started welling up with tears, and tears started falling down my face, and I cried and read all of How It Works. And like that's how maladjusted to life I was. Like I couldn't talk to people. I just couldn't fathom it. And you guys are so nice. Like that was followed up with a thunderous applause, which never happens. Everybody just started clapping and then coming up to me and saying, you did such a good job reading. That was the best we've ever heard in Alcoholics Anonymous. Like it was really, really nice, because I was so far away from okay. But like, I don't know, I was in treatment and I just didn't feel okay. And when I was in treatment, like people started talking about God. And I really didn't have any conflict with the idea. Like I didn't have like any really big prejudices. I understand some people do, but like I just illustrated to you guys, like I've tried so many human resources and they all failed. And even during my alcoholism, like I could see that like those things weren't working. They weren't getting me okay the way I wanted to be, and like me wasn't working. So I would try other things, but like I didn't grow up in a household where we practice any sort of organized religion. What I saw was like my alcoholic mom, who was Hispanic, like we had a big Virgin Mary statue in the living room, and she would like get drunk and pray in Spanish and cry. And like that was my exposure to religion. But I'd also watch movies, and I would see people like when they were really conflicted, they would say 5 Hail Marys. So I would Google how to say a Hail Mary, and I would double down and say 10, because I wanted to think like maybe there's something else, that could work. And that's all I really knew what to work with. Or like my relationship with God before that was like when I would get pulled over on K&A, and I would just say like, God, please get me out of this. And I promise if you do this, I'll never do it again. And it was just like very, very transactional. Like I just didn't know how to cultivate or develop or maintain a relationship with God, but I wanted to believe in something like so bad. And like around the age of 20 or 21, I remember it was like my dad ended up passing away too. And because both of my parents loved me so much, they left behind a bunch of money for me and my siblings to take care of ourselves if anything ever happened to them. And I took a bunch of this money and like, yes, I used it to get drunk, but then I would take some up to New Hope, Pennsylvania, because in New Hope, Pennsylvania, there was a psychic there. And I would go see her, you know, expecting her to make me feel okay. And she was amazing. She said, like, yes, I can see you're in pain and I can fix you. I just need $1,000 to go buy some materials. And and you come back next week. And I would go back the next week and she would light candles and sage and she would just wave it all around me. And like, she was such a fake. But I gave her so much money because I was so desperate to believe that there was something else out there. You know, and like that, I feel like that's an unrelatable story, but I really, like, I was a seeker, you know, I was just trying to get okay, man, and I don't know, so when they started talking about God and treatment, like, I had heard, like, bad things about religion, you know, like, everybody talks about, like, Catholic Church or punishing God or your skirt has to be below your knees, like, and that's like really all I knew. But like I didn't have like too strong of prejudices. I just thought the Catholic Church sounds lame. I don't anymore, by the way. I really don't. But at the time, that's all I knew. And there was this speaker that came in, and I will always remember him because I quote him all the time. But he told a story and he talked about God in a way that I've never heard before. Like, his name's Tony S. And he was like, you know, I don't call it God in like a churchy way because I don't go to church, you know, and I just call it God because I don't have a better word for it. The same way I call this table a table, like I just don't have a fancy name for whatever it is. And I've heard people have fancy stupid names for their higher power, you know, like I've heard people call it like SAM, which is an acronym for sure ain't me, or I've heard people call it, I know, stupid, I've heard people call it a doorknob or even like a rock, which like let's like think about that for a second. If you're saying like made a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of rock as I understood it, like that doesn't work. And especially if you're in Cocaine Anonymous, like that definitely doesn't work, you know? So I just really loved when he said, like, I call it God, not in a religious way. I'm not a religious guy. I just don't have a better word for it, which like opened my mind up. It opened the door for me to and I didn't know this was happening. It was like opening the door to develop my own conception of God. It doesn't have to be a churchy one. It doesn't have to be a religious one. It could just be mine, you know, and it's just a name. So I don't know. After treatment, like I had nowhere to live because I burned every bridge. Like I relied on people into the ground, you know, and nobody wanted to speak to me. My family wouldn't talk to me. I wasn't allowed to be with my son. I had no money and no resume. Like I had nothing. So they put me in a recovery house, and it was a good recovery house. It was like, you're going to live here, and you're going to go to 90 meetings in 90 days, and you're going to get a sponsor, and you're going to do the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And they didn't even give me the choice. I really wanted to do Narcotics Anonymous because I thought it sounded cooler. I know that it's not, you know. No, not to knock it. My sister's in NA. She does okay, I guess. And yeah, but they made me do things I otherwise wouldn't do. But like when I got to the recovery house entitled, you know, like I didn't really want to. I just didn't see how the 12 steps could work for me. I knew that me wasn't working for me, but I didn't see how like 12 things could work for me. It just didn't make any sense to me. So I gave it no effort for about 90 days until like I had enough of me. You know, and like throughout that 90 days, I was getting in trouble all the time. Like I was shoplifting all the time. I was lying every time I opened my mouth. I was leaving dishes everywhere. Like people hated me. You know, like I was just insufferable to be around. You could alcoholism oozing through me. Like it was bad. And everybody had an issue with it. And I didn't understand why. I was like, I'm not drinking and I'm not getting high. So what's the problem? They were like, it's you. Like you're the problem. And I didn't realize that. And, I don't know, like after 90 days, like I had enough of that. I had enough of me, and I went to a meeting and I was crying because I couldn't see my son. And that's like all I wanted to do. And I shared about it, and after the meeting, this woman came up to me and she said, you know, I couldn't see my kids for about 5 years, and now I see them all the time, and I'm a really good mom. Do you want to get coffee sometime? And I was like, yeah, and could you be my sponsor because I don't know what I'm doing. And she was like, I don't know, because she was like on her 9th step, so she wasn't like allowed to sponsor anybody. So she had to text her sponsor, get the green light, and then she could sponsor me. And that's what happened. And she got the green light. And what that looked like was like, I would go to her grandma's house where she lived, and we would sit on the floor and we would just read the big book and talk about it, you know. And we got to the chapter of We Agnostics, and again, like I didn't have any issues with it. Like the beginning of the chapter really talks about how our human resources have failed us. And even though we had moral and philosophical convictions galore, they weren't sufficient, you know? And like, I identify with that. Like if you asked me if I was a good person, I'd say yeah. And I really believed it because I didn't want to hurt people. I didn't want to make everybody around me suffer. I didn't want everybody to leave me, you know? And, I had good ideas. It was just like the idea went bad when the idea was for me to execute. You know, like I don't know if that makes any sense, but it did in my head. And and like I'm just so afraid of confrontation. I really didn't want to hurt anybody. And you know, my sponsor at the time, she was like, things will be okay. That you have to stop relying on yourself to get yourself out of trouble, because that's what I do. Like I just rely on myself to get myself somewhere. Like I rely on myself to protect myself. And she was like, you have to believe that a power greater than yourself could restore you to sanity. But I had really high expectations when she said that, because I thought that at that point in time I'd say yes and I'd be sane. And that's not how it works. Like if you actually go to the 10-step promises on page 84 or 85 or something, it says something to the effect of, you know, we have ceased fighting everything and everyone, including alcohol, for by then we have been restored to sanity. So I'm sitting on the floor of my sponsor's grandmom's house thinking like, okay, we just tried We Agnostics, I'm sane now. But that's not how it works. Like I'm on step 2. I have to do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10, I'll be restored to sanity, but I didn't know that. And what that looked like I did continue through the steps. I did. But again, like I was a slow burn. Like I just didn't buy in until I bought in, you know? Like I didn't really, like, I don't think I got to step 10 until I was like 10 or 11 months sober, which in my opinion, it takes way less time to get there, you know? But I would let my sponsor read to me week by week, and then I would go live my life and try to do things my way. And then and I would come back to her house the following week and we'd talk about how my way didn't work again. And I don't know. And like around steps 3 and 4, or 4 and 5, and like 8 and 9 is when like I started like really getting a glimpse of what the 12 steps can do. And step 2 to me is really like, it's just this process of changing your mind. You know, it's taking all of your old ideas and casting them away because they don't serve me anymore. Like they landed me here on the floor of my sponsor's grandmom's house, reading with her again, you know? Like they don't work. So I have to take those ideas and I have to put them somewhere else. And I understand like that's a conflict for a lot of people, especially people that come here later in life. Like it was a conflict for me. I was 24. I didn't know much about life, you know? Like I have to change my mind, you know? But I get it. And I heard a speaker talk about it like this before, and I really identified with it. He was like, imagine like, you know, you're a businessman in the 1400s and developed something wonderful. You've cornered the market. You've developed these maps. These maps are like, they're going to make you a lot of money. You're going to have a successful, beautiful life. But then some clown walks in named Columbus, and he says, something, the earth is actually round. And it doesn't actually matter if the earth is round or not. But at that particular time, it's not convenient, because if people start believing him and they think that the earth is round, then my inventory is fucked. Sorry, it's effed, and I have to throw it out because it's not worth anything. And I get that, and I imagine astronomers struggled the same way. Like, for a long time, they looked at like the stars and the planets, and they wanted Earth to be the center of the universe, like so desperately, and they kept staring at the lineup, trying to make the center of the universe. And it wasn't until they moved Earth to the side and made the sun the center of the universe that everything started to make sense. And I just identify with those analogies, because for a really long time, I had all of these maps in my mind where I was the center of the universe. So what you're asking me to do is take myself and move myself to the side and make God the center of my universe. And when I really honestly do that, things really do make a lot more sense, Like, maybe not everybody's out to get me. Maybe none of this has anything to do with me. Maybe not everything is a direct result of me. It's like, it's a lot easier to like conceptualize life that way for me. But like, that's not to say I don't still struggle with it. I do. Like, my maps are like deeply ingrained in my brain, and I don't know where I want to go from here, but like, I think about it too, like, I believe in the line in We Agnostics where it says God doesn't make too hard of terms on those who seek him, if like honestly and sincerely done. And I used to make really hard terms on myself, with God. And like, I used to think like, if I wanted God to hear me, I had to get on my knees and I had to put my hands like this. And I remember I was in the recovery house, like doing it in secret, and then I'd hear a girl come up and I'd like jump up into my bunk bed and like get under cover so they didn't see me praying. Like, I was so embarrassed, but like, I thought that was the only way that God could hear me. Or I thought that I had to say the prayers exactly as they're worded in the big book, and I would rehearse it and try to get every word right, because I didn't think God could hear me if I didn't say it exactly the way he wanted me to say it. And like, I thought like, we have to pray upon awakening. That's the second I open my eyes. Which like is true. Like, you do have to pray upon awakening, but I don't always do it. And I've come to believe that I don't really think God gives a shit. I don't think that's the case. Like, I think that I can pray wherever. I don't think it matters how I pray. I don't think it matters if I'm on the ground or if I'm standing up or if I'm in my car or if I'm at work. I don't think it matters what time of day I go to him. All that matters is that I go to him. And if I go to him honestly and sincerely, he'll meet me there. Because that's all he wants. Like, God's never left me. He always takes me back. Every single time. Every time I go to him. And like, Adrienne, when I first met Adrienne, I was listening to her speak a few times, and our experiences are so similar. But I remember she was speaking, and she said something like about her son, and her son is very similar to my son. Like, my son has autism, and she was talking about God in this way. Like, when I was holding my son, and he was like 2, like he struggled with communication, and I would hold him and he would like push me away. He would like violently hit me to get down, because he wanted to get down and he wanted to run around. So I'd be holding him and he'd push me away, and I'd let him down, and he'd run around and he'd fall and he'd hurt himself. And sure enough, every time he'd come right up to my feet and put his hands up in the air just like this and say, pick me up. And me, as flawed as I am, I'd look down at him and I always pick him up, because I love him so unconditionally. And the way she explained it is like, us, as flawed as we are, if we can love things that unconditionally, who's to say that God doesn't look at us the same way? Because that's really what happened. Like, at a young age, I hit God in the face. I pushed him away. I said, let me down. I got this, and I'll be okay without you. So I run around and I fall and I get hurt. And then at 24 years old, I just put my hands up in the sky and I say, all right, you can take me now because I don't know what I'm doing. And he picks me up every single time. Like, that's my conception of God. Like, I don't have a fancy conception of God. I can't tell you what it looks like or what it sounds like. A lot of the time, I can't even tell you what it wants from me, But like, I believe in God, not because of church, not because you guys don't shut up about God, not because I read about him in some big blue book, but I've experienced God working so brightly in my life. And like Pat was talking about this last night too, like it's always in hindsight. You know, like I see him when I look back there, like he's all over the place, you know? And a lot of times it's like in situations where I am just mad because I think I'm not getting what I want and what I need to be okay, you know? But like God has something different planned in store for me, which always like develops way better than anything I was able to ever produce by myself, you know? And like, I don't know, back then when I was doing my second step, like, did I really believe that God, like, did I think that a power greater than myself was God? Like, probably not, like, you know, but however inadequate, it was sufficient, you know. My higher power back then was probably you guys. It was probably AA. And then I'll just do AA because I don't have anything else. And as, you know, a result of doing all 12 of the steps, I get to experience God. And that's been my experience. God is good, and he's there for me if I'm honest and I'm willing to help. And, you know, I try to help his kids. What time are we at? Oh, my God. Well, no, I actually have a lot more time. I'm not going to fill it, but, like, I don't know. Like, I guess I'll just go to my current experience, which is why I struggled to, like, stand up here today. You know, like, recently, like, things are better. Like, you know, I have my son back in my life today. I have, like, for a long time, like, in sobriety, like, I thought that I just needed a house and a good career. And then I'd be okay. Like, I thought, like, you know, like, I thought, like, that's just what I need. Like, I'll stay sober and I'll get some stuff back and I'll be okay. And, like, I knew AA worked, but I also wanted a house really, really bad. And, like, I finally got my house. I got it in November, and it's so cute and beautiful. But I'm living in this house, and I have my son, like, 80% of the time. I have a husband that's always nice to me and so good to me. Like, all he did was tell me he loved me so much this morning. Like, literally, you know? And, like, I have a salary that I didn't dream was possible with a GED and a criminal record like mine. You know? Like, I have so many beautiful things in my life. But recently, the only thing that's consumed my mind is this girl that I don't like. And she stopped talking to me, so I'm pretty convinced she doesn't like me. And, like, I can't stand the idea that someone's out there and she doesn't like me, you know? Like, that's so crazy. How agnostic is that? So then I'm, like, thinking of ways, like, all right, should I confront her? Like, should I ask her if I did anything? Maybe I should make amends. Maybe I should reach out. Maybe I shouldn't reach out at all because she'll think I'm psychotic. But, like, I also don't care about her. Like, why am I like this? I'm 8 years into practicing this stuff, and, like, my mind still goes there so much. And I have everything that I was so certain would make me feel okay and secure. And, like, I'm just so obviously in need of you guys, like, all of the time, because that's how I experience God. Like, I don't know about you guys, like, I don't hear him. You know, a lot of times he comes to me in your guys' voices, you know, by letting you all see me, by telling you guys the truth about me, my insane head. And like I see heads nodding, like you guys get it, you know, and then you guys can suggest things that like I really know, you know, but like when I hear it from your experience, it has depth and weight in a way that like makes me want to practice again, you know. And like I was talking to Chelsea actually like earlier in the week about that, because like I suffer loudly and I complain to everybody that'll listen, and she's telling me about this tape, and I think it was with Bill W. And well, I was saying like I think I got to go to more meetings, but that's so annoying because I know so many people that don't have to go to that many meetings and they don't have to pray that much, and like they're fine and sober, and like what if I could do that? And she was like, yeah, but this tape, and Bill W. was saying like that's not really good enough. He said, like, and I'll probably butcher this, but he said, I want to be more than sober. Like, do you really just want to, like, go to the bare minimum, maybe one meeting, like, a month, and, like, I don't know, like, survive? Or do you want to be more than sober? And, like, I thought that was such a beautiful concept, so I told my husband about it last night at the diner with our other friend, And he was like, oh yeah, it's like the island. And I was like, what are you talking about? And what he explained to me last night, I'll probably butcher this too, but he was like, well, it's like when you get sober and you're on an island and like everything's beautiful and you're with a whole bunch of really great happy people and you're exploring the island and you're sitting under the palm tree and you're drinking out of coconuts and you're going for a swim, but then you start exploring the island and you walk around a little bit and you swim on other parts of the island, but then you go to like through the forest and you reach the opposite side of the island and there's all these people over there and they're building boats and they're like they're doing a lot of really tough work. And they're trying to get to another island. And like you go up to them and you're like, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, well, we're trying to get to this other island because like it's really great here, but it's actually really wonderful over there. So it's going to be a lot of work and it's going to be really, really hard, but we could get over there, and it would be really, really beautiful. And that's kind of like a synopsis for my relationship with AA. Like it's like a pendulum swing. Like, I try to stop practicing. Thank God I have such a low threshold for pain. Like I hate being uncomfortable. So then I call Adrienne or I call Chelsea or I call you guys. And you guys always take me back and I come back and I learn new ways to practice. And I can get to like other islands. And I can get better. And like this is a program of limitless expansion, which is the most bitchin' part of Alcoholics Anonymous. Like that's so cool. That means like I can always grow. I can always grow. And the things that I hate about myself, like the really broken parts of me that are just worried about like maybe I need lip filler, like those parts of me, like they. The speakers last night were talking about, and thank you guys so much for like sharing your experience and being so honest. Like Karen, you were so great, but like you guys talked about how like we're so perfectly imperfect, and those things that I hate about myself, they're actually the glue that holds somebody else in here. Like they've been used to help other people so often. Like there's God all over that. Like maybe that's why I got drunk when I was pregnant, to talk to other women that couldn't stop drinking when they were pregnant. And I've experienced that, That's been really, really beautiful, but also like those broken parts of me that I hate, they always drive me right back in here into the hands of you guys and God where I'm the absolute happiest, And I just need to be reminded all the time. So while like I didn't feel like it was an honor to be here, it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to stand up here and to let you guys see me because this helps me, And if this didn't help anybody, like helps me, like I'm gonna be here. And I don't know, like I think the 10-step promises say we have like a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition, or like I get to be sane. Let me touch on that real quick. I thought I was gonna struggle to fill up the time. And I think I'm at time. I don't know. But like the most insane thing that an alcoholic can do is think it's okay to drink after years of experience of that not working. And that's completely left me. Like I am restored to sanity. Even though I feel so insane all of the time, the thought of a drink never pops into my mind, ever. I always get it there. If tempted by alcohol, I recoil from it like a hot flame. Like it might seem nice for like a second, and then my next thought is like, yeah, but then you'll get arrested, and like I can listen to that. Like that's amazing. And then it goes on to say something, and I'm trying to remember and recite them, but like it says like, this is how we are so long as we stay in fit spiritual condition. And what that means to me is ego deflation and service to others every day. So that's what I try to do, and I'm going to keep practicing even when it hurts and I suck at it, but it's beautiful and fun, and I'm reasonably happy most of the time, which is a miracle. So thanks for letting me share.